Hello students, in this section today we will talk regarding the normal shape of RBC and the abnormal shapes, and then we will discuss about the common inclusion bodies which are seen in the RBC. So whenever you get a slide, this can be a slide of a normal RBC. It is being written, it is a normal RBC. And how you judge, basically, if you see here, there is central 1/3 pallor present. There is central 1/3 pallor present, and this central 1/3 pallor, this is the normal RBC you can comment upon. Now the RBC size can increase, that is macrocytosis. RBC size can decrease, that is microcytosis. RBC can become spherical, that is spherocytosis. RBC can become sickle shaped, that is sickle RBCs. So there can be abnormal shape of the RBCs. Here this slide basically shows is the macrocytosis. Now just by looking at the RBC, you cannot say that the size is large. Only what you can comment upon is there is no central 1/3 pallor. If you see here, there is no central 1/3 pallor which is seen. So here there is no central 1/3 pallor which is normally present, that is not seen here. Plus there will be hypersegmented neutrophils. Hypersegmented neutrophils. So hypersegmented neutrophils is seen in the megaloblastic anemia. So whenever you get a picture, you should always first look at the four corners if they have shown something, and then you should also look in the center. That is because sometimes the examiner is putting in the corner, you are not able to judge. So this is how what we say, this is a slide of a macrocytic anemia with hypersegmented neutrophils. And where you can see the macrocytosis, all those causes which can cause megaloblastic anemia, there will be macrocytosis which will be seen. So macrocytosis can be seen particularly in the vitamin B12 and folic acid deficiency. You can also see in the alcohol poisoning. You can also see in the liver disease. Apart from this, it is a general feature of anything which causes defect in DNA synthesis. Which causes defect in the DNA synthesis. So this is what we say is the macrocytosis. This again is a slide of basically a hypersegmented neutrophil. We are showing here is a hypersegmented neutrophil. Then is the microcytosis. Now microcytosis basically means decrease in the size of RBC. You cannot comment upon, but if you look here, what you find is the pallor is more than central 1/3. The pallor is more than central 1/3. So this is microcytic hypochromic anemia slide. This is a slide of microcytic hypochromic anemia. So if you appreciate here, the central 1/3 pallor is more. That is more. And these are the conditions where you can get is the microcytosis, that is iron deficiency anemia, that is anemia of chronic inflammation, there is thalassemia, there is lead poisoning, there is sideroblastic anemia. And these 5 conditions are very, very important to be remembered. These are the 5 conditions where you get is the microcytosis hypochromic picture. Iron deficiency anemia, thalassemia, lead poisoning, anemia of chronic inflammation, and the sideroblastic anemia. Then you should know what is the meaning of the term anisocytosis. Variation in the size of RBC. Variation in the size of RBC is called as anisocytosis, and it is a common feature which is seen in megaloblastic and hemolytic anemias. So whenever you get a question, there might be written as there is presence of anisocytosis. So anisocytosis basically means there is variation in the size of RBC. Then the word is the poikilocytosis, and this is variation in the shape of RBCs. If you make a peripheral blood film, and in the peripheral blood film you find variation in the shape of RBCs, it is poikilocytosis. And this variation in the shape can be teardrop cell, oval cell, or the sickle shaped RBCs. So it can be teardrop cell, it can be oval cell, it can be sickle shaped RBCs. This is the variation in the shape of the RBCs. Where it is seen? it is associated with ineffective erythropoiesis. It is associated with the ineffective erythropoiesis, and this is seen in the megaloblastic and the hemolytic anemias. It is seen in the megaloblastic and the hemolytic anemias. So this is what we can say is the pure kelocytosis. This is variation in the shape of the RBCs, right? And this is seen particularly associated with megaloblastic and hemolytic, where you also find is the anisocytosis. Now if you see here, you are basically appreciating here there is presence of spherical shaped RBCs. So here there is presence of the spherical shaped RBCs. They are also seen where the spherical shaped RBCs were also seen so called in megaloblastic anemia. But here there is no hypersegmented neutrophils. So you get here is the spherical shaped RBCs. Now spherical shaped RBCs, are they only seen in the hereditary spherocytosis? No. They are also seen in the autoimmune hemolytic anemia, and this is very, very important. Autoimmune hemolytic anemia, both warm antibody type as well as cold antibody type, what you get is the spherical shaped RBCs. They are also seen in the buns, they are also seen in the Clostridium infection, and they can very well be seen in the Wilson disease. So you need to remember here spherical shaped RBCs, one important hereditary spherocytosis, and the second important you need to remember here autoimmune hemolytic anemia. Autoimmune hemolytic anemia. Then if you can appreciate here, these are the target cells. Now whenever you are shooting particularly a target, the target appears like this, that there is particularly the circles, and in the center there is also a circle. These are not nucleated RBCs. This is basically due to the redistribution of hemoglobin. This is due to the redistribution of hemoglobin, and the hemoglobin is redistributed along the periphery like this and in the center like this. So the nuclear RBCs appears nucleated, but they are actually not nucleated. This is something which we call as the target cells due to the redistribution of hemoglobin. And quite often this question is being asked. Now in which conditions you see the target cells? And you can easily remember like this. There are the two conditions where there is defect in the hemoglobin, because it is also a hemoglobin defect, and the two major ones are sickle cell anemia and thalassemia major. Sickle cell anemia and thalassemia major. Apart from this, you should also remember they can be seen in iron deficiency anemia, but severe iron deficiency and the deficiency of the enzyme called lecithin cholesterol acyl transferase. So LCAT, deficiency of the enzyme which is called as the lecithin cholesterol acyl transferase. So bare minimum remember two things, sickle cell anemia, and this is the thalassemia major. And please remember they appear as nucleated, but they are not nucleated RBCs. It is due to the redistribution of hemoglobin. Now these cells, if you can appreciate here, these all cells particularly, these are the fragmented RBCs. These are the basically fragmented RBCs. And these fragmented RBCs are called as cystocytes. These fragmented RBCs, they are called as the cystocytes. Right? Now, how there can be fragmented RBCs produced? These fragmented cells can be seen in microangiopathic hemolytic anemia, which includes two conditions, hemolytic uremic syndrome and thrombotic thrombocytopenic purpura, which includes hemolytic uremic syndrome and thrombotic thrombocytopenic purpura. This is, let us suppose, a small vessel, and if there is a thrombus in the small vessel, which occurs in hemolytic uremic syndrome and TTP, so when the RBC will pass, RBC will break down. So these fragmented RBCs are called as cystocytes. Then it is seen in DIC. DIC stands for the disseminated intravascular coagulation. It stands for the disseminated intravascular coagulation. So in particularly case of DIC, you get is the fragmented RBCs which are called as cystocytes. Then it is seen in cardiac hemolytic anemia. Cardiac hemolytic anemia means there is presence of prosthetic heart valve which is metallic. A person has got a heart valve transplantation and there is a metallic heart valve. If it is a metallic heart valve, whenever the blood will strike, the RBCs will break. So what you get is particularly fragmented RBCs which are also seen in the cardiac hemolytic anemia. Right? So this we say is the cystiocytes which are the fragmented RBCs. Then this particularly, if you can appreciate here, these are the longitudinal slits. These are basically the longitudinal slits, and these longitudinal slits RBCs are called as stomatocytes. They are called as the stomatocytes. These are the longitudinal slits. These are called as stomatocytes. These are also called as the cup-shaped RBCs. They are also called as the cup-shaped RBCs. So these are the stomatocytes, and where they can be seen, just like hereditary spherocytosis, they can be seen in hereditary stomatocytes. Liver disease, which can be due to alcohol, so it is also seen in the alcohol excess, and in the Rh null phenotype it can be seen. So these are, you need to understand, you just need to identify, these are the hereditary stomatocytes. Now if you can appreciate here, these are the RBCs which are having the spikes or spicules. They are having the spikes or spicules, and if you can see, these spikes or spicules are of unequal size and unevenly placed. So these spikes or spicules which are of uneven size and they are unevenly spaced. And such type of RBCs where there are spikes or spicules which are of uneven size and unevenly spaced, they are called as acanthocytes. They are called as the acanthocytes. So these are the spikes or spicules which are of uneven size and they are unevenly spaced. Right? So this is what we call as the spikes, this is what we call as the acanthocytes. Right? Now in this, where they can be seen, you can easily remember by the word PALE, P-A-L-E, where P stands for the pyruvate kinase deficiency, A stands for the A-beta lipoproteinemia, L stands for the liver disease, and E stands for the vitamin E deficiency. So you can easily remember the four conditions by the name of the word PALE: pyruvate kinase deficiency, A-beta lipoproteinemia, liver disease, and the vitamin E deficiency. Then there is the Burr cell or echinocytes. Now this also have the spikes or spicules. Spikes or spicules, but they are of equal size. They are of equal size and they are evenly spaced. They are of equal size and they are evenly spaced. So this is particularly, you see, is the echinocytes, and this echinocytes is seen in the chronic renal failure. Very, very important thing. It is seen in the chronic renal failure, that is the uremia. So we get is the Burr cells or the echinocytes which are seen in the chronic renal failure. Now if you can appreciate here, you can see here clumping of the RBCs on the peripheral blood film. Clumping of the RBCs on the peripheral blood film, and this clumping of the RBCs in the peripheral blood film is given the name as Reuleaux formation. This is given the name as Reuleaux formation, where it can be seen if either there is increased in the amount of globulin, which is in the plasma cell disorders, multiple myeloma, or there is increased in the amount of fibrinogen. Increase in the amount of fibrinogen. So this Reuleaux formation is seen in hyperfibrinogenemia. This is seen in the hyperfibrinogenemia, and this is seen in the hyperglobinemia. This is seen in the hyperglobinemia. So it is seen in the hyperfibrinogenemia, it is seen in the hyperglobinemia. In both of them you find is the clumping of the RBCs, which is called as the Reuleaux formation. Then we will discuss regarding the inclusion bodies in RBCs. Inclusion bodies. When I am talking of inclusion bodies in RBCs, I mean to say which bodies you can see in the RBCs. And in this, it can be particularly the Haynes bodies that can be particularly seen. There can be Pappenheimer bodies, there can be Howell-Jolly bodies, there can be basophilic stippling. So there are the four major inclusion bodies that you need to remember, and you need to remember they are formed of basically which things. So first here I am saying is the Howell-Jolly bodies. These Howell-Jolly bodies, they are formed of the DNA remains. They are formed of the DNA remains. So Howell-Jolly bodies are there. These are formed of the DNA remains. So where it can be seen? This can be seen in megaloblastic anemia. Why megaloblastic anemia? Because in the megaloblastic anemia there is a defect in the DNA synthesis. So you can very well see. Then it can be seen in particularly post-splenectomy. Because normally what happens is spleen removes everything. Spleen removes particularly everything, any abnormal kind of a cell. But if spleen is not there, abnormal RBCs will not be removed. So you can see it post-splenectomy. Now this post-splenectomy can be particularly autosplenectomy, which you can see in the sickle cell anemia, or it can be in the radiation therapy which is involving the spleen. So if the spleen functions get decreased also, you can see the Howell-Jolly bodies, and you need to remember these Howell-Jolly bodies are formed of the DNA. Apart from this, it is seen in the megaloblastic anemia. Then we talk is the Haynes bodies. These Haynes bodies are actually formed of the abnormal hemoglobin. They are formed of the abnormal hemoglobin, and the second point you need to remember, they are stained by supravital stains. So they are formed of the abnormal hemoglobin and they are stained by the supravital stains. So where is the Haynes body seen? Haynes bodies is seen in NADPH deficiency, glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency, and alpha thalassemia. In all of this condition, there is collection of the abnormal hemoglobin, right? And due to this abnormal hemoglobin, you get is the presence of the Haynes bodies. Then is the word basophilic stippling. This basophilic stippling is formed of the ribosomal RNA. It is formed of the ribosomal RNA. This is in the center we are showing is the basophilic stippling. So this is formed of the ribosomal RNA. Now where it can be particularly seen, and you need to remember this, the important ones is lead poisoning. It is very well seen in the lead poisoning. It is seen in the sideroblastic anemia. And then you need to also remember pyrimidine 5' nucleotidase deficiency. These are the three common which you need to remember. Apart from this, you can remember the MAT. MAT stands for particularly megaloblastic anemia, alcohol and thalassemia. But three are very, very important. Lead poisoning is one which is important. Then sideroblastic anemia is the another one which is important. And pyrimidine 5' nucleotidase deficiency which is important. Then is the Pappenheimer bodies. These Pappenheimer bodies are actually formed of ferritin. They are formed of ferritin. So where it can be seen? They can be seen in sideroblastic anemia, post-splenectomy, megaloblastic anemia and hemolytic anemia. But mostly they are seen in the sideroblastic anemia. But only you need to remember at least Pappenheimer bodies are formed of what? They are formed of the ferritin. Then there is one thing which are called as the Cabot's rings. Cabot's rings are no inclusion bodies. They can be rings of oval, circular or figure of 8 shape. And what actually they are artifacts. And why they are formed? Because there can be damage to the lipoprotein of the stroma of the red cell. So they are no inclusion bodies. Cabot rings are no inclusion bodies and they are seen in the megaloblastic anemia. They are seen in the megaloblastic anemia. So if you can appreciate here, we are showing here, this is particularly the Cabot rings which are seen here, and these Cabot rings are something which we call as the artifacts. These are the artifacts. This particularly just near the edge, this is particularly Haynes bodies. These are the Haynes bodies. If you can see here, just near the nucleus, so they are most probably the Howell-Jolly bodies. And here in this we are showing is the basophilic stippling. We are showing is the basophilic stippling. So in this section particularly what I have discussed is, I have discussed regarding the common inclusion bodies which are seen in the RBCs and the abnormal shape of the RBCs.